Hey, my name is Stefan Küffer. I'm Principal Process Engineer for PEDCO, and I'm one of the key developers of Applied Safe, our main product that we sell globally. I've attended quite a number of PI plannings, maybe about a dozen, in different companies. I did my certification already, I guess it's 6 years ago now, when Dean Leffingwell himself was offering the first training in Switzerland. There are numbers of key challenges you have to be aware of when you're preparing your first PI planning. I think one of the most important ones is that backlog is ready. With backlog I mean at least that you have a number of epics or features in the safe context, or already kind of an epics calendar with some pre-prepared stories. But the key reason why you have to prepare that is efficiency of the PI planning itself. If there is no backlog, the teams don't really have a lot to prepare, or are even that confused that you totally lose efficiency during PI planning. Another one that I see as a key motivating factor is the attendance of management. Management will attend in different roles. At the very beginning of a PI planning, it's essential that managers or CTOs, key architects are explaining their vision so that they can set the context for the team. If the team doesn't understand the context, then they cannot prioritize efficiently their backlog items in their breakout sessions during PI planning. And another reason is after the breakout sessions, when there is the management slot, that real decision makers are there to support and help the teams to mitigate the risk items and issues that came aware during PI planning. Another important topic is logistics. SAFE already gives you a lot of advice on what you have to keep an eye on. It's very important that you understand your actual contexts of the teams and the organization. For example, if you have a number of nearshore or offshore teams, it's key that these teams can have easy access via video sessions. Or on the other hand, if you, for example, have lots of dependencies between teams in a high complex environment, that the teams really can work together in a big room. Sometimes it might be helpful that you separate the train into rooms if there are not so many dependencies, but in other areas it's very important that all the team members are in one room and have easy access to anybody else so that they can mitigate their questions, find answers and move forward during their breakout sessions. One important experience that I did, and that's something that you cannot plan for your first PI planning. This is the understanding of the complexity of the product and the dependencies between the teams. What I have seen during my experiences with different teams is the more dependencies you have between teams, the longer you need for planning. So SAFE suggests to do it over 2 days. And what I have seen now is especially in environments where there are not so many dependencies, depending on your product setup, that it can be much shorter. So you start, for example, with the 2-day approach, and when you see that there are not so many dependencies, teams are much faster, maybe you don't need the second or third breakout session, then you can reduce even down to 1 day such a PI planning. But that's something that you cannot plan in advance, that's something that you have to experience and then be open, get feedback of the teams and adjust the duration and the agenda of PI planning depending on your local environment. Sometimes you make quite some special experiences. As you maybe can imagine, it's important that the team can decide what they take into the train. And depending on the dependencies between the teams, there might be adjustments of the backlog or the prioritization of the backlog that you take into a team. So there are 2 things you really have to consider. One is, it's good if you give some advice prior to the start of PI planning with regard of the priorities, so that if there are conflicts, that the team have guidance in form of priorities based on the features or portfolio epics that you take down into your program. But another thing is also what I have seen sometimes when there is still this project management mindset around, that sometimes teams already have prepared their board, everything is there like a project plan, and they resist to be flexible to take in or take out elements. So be very careful if you see this approach that the PI planning is misused as a kind of project planning, and you lose the flexibility that agility should give you, then you still have to work on the mindset so that, for example, project managers or product managers or other kind of stakeholders that you have in your PI planning, that they change their behavior towards a lean agile leadership mindset.